Brian Rosenwinkel, who I met in college at NYU. We were put in a group together on our first day at NYU. It was a class called Drama Lab, and basically it was like a rotating thing where 1 week you were the writer-director and the other two were the actors, and that's how Brian and I met. And I didn't like our professor, so I made Brian like sneakily play our professor in one of the little short things I wrote, and he was really nervous. But we've been friends since, and now he lives out here in LA, and he doesn't have a Substack, but I think he should. He's currently writing on Only Murders in the Building, and but that doesn't matter to me. Like, that's not even the first thing that I love about him. But I just felt like I should say it. Anyway. My brilliant friend, Brian Rosenwinkel, please come up.
Hi, thank you, Audrey. This is exciting for me. I learned how to read on the way here. This is a short essay about everything I've ever experienced. Okay. Oh, thank you. Great. As a kid, there were 3 things my parents loved more than me: Jesus Christ, Ronald Reagan, and the war in Iraq. I knew that, and I was okay with it, because I was a God-fearing patriot before I was out of diapers. At my 5th birthday, we toasted to the killing of Saddam Hussein. When I was 9, I read Peggy Noonan's book, Rawhide Down, about the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan. And when I got to the part where they attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan, I cried right there on the school bus. The summer of 2009 changed that, turned me away from God and toward the altar of hedonism. It was the year of a showdown that started in our suburban town outside of Chicago and ended at a U.S. military encampment in Afghanistan. Sure, that was the summer Michael Jackson died, the summer I discovered pop radio, and the summer that Shakira released the greatest song ever written, She-Wolf. More importantly, 2009 was the summer that a 16-year-old babysitter with a drinking problem came into my life. When she arrived, I was an altar boy, a young Republican, a Boy Scout. When she left, I was practically a power bottom with a ketamine problem. I say practically because I was only 10. I'm from a town called Palatine, Illinois, which has made the national news exactly twice. First, in 1993, when there was a multiple homicide at a fast food chicken restaurant. And then again in 2015, when someone at my high school email blasted a photo of a prolapsed anus to thousands of high school students around the state. It's the kind of place no one really leaves. The only landmark in Palatine is a man-made reservoir where everyone has their first beer, their first hit off a joint, and their first sexual experience, which is usually interrupted by a police officer, probably someone you know, rapping on the glass or shining a flashlight in your face and telling you to go home. I say that to say, summers there were mundane before Kayla Garber arrived with her brand new driver's license and her bad attitude. Before Kayla, summers were for shucking corn and spirit camp, the week-long church day camp where we put on Bible sketches and wore matching Fruit of the Loom t-shirts with iron-on decals. Spirit camp also came with an annual CD full of songs that were so repetitive, so inane and musicless that if Jesus himself were to hear them, he would regret resurrecting. At the Rosenwinkel household, we listened to the Spirit Camp CD all year long. The radio is broken, my mother would say, desperate not to lose her children to the clutches of the devil, who, as we all know, takes the form of Ryan Seacrest on Kiss FM. When Kayla walked through the door with her megawatt smile and her smudged eyeliner, we knew something was wrong. My siblings and I, the 3 of us, had been trained to sniff out a floozy from a mile away. And here one was, standing in our living room while our mother wrote emergency contact information on a sheet of printer paper. How did she not know? This was the emergency. Sure, we'd had babysitters before, the next door neighbor, or nice girls from church. She was not one of those. See, That was the summer that my mom had decided to go back to work, and it was clear to me why our greatest thought leader, Rush Limbaugh, always said that was such a bad idea. Now, being a summer babysitter wasn't hard, not to three kids whose favorite activities were reading and prayer. All Kayla had to do was make sure that we got to swim lessons, completed our Kumon packets, and wrote weekly letters to the soldier my parents had adopted in Afghanistan. How bad could it possibly be? Well, the minute my mom was out the door, Kayla told us to go out and play, which allowed her to lock the sliding glass and sleep off her hangover on the couch. Outside, the three of us were a united front, making a plan to get Kayla fired or exorcised. Tryouts for the church nativity were 6 months away, and if my sister Katie had sin on her heart, she'd never get cast as Mary. We sprang into action and spent the first few weeks gathering as much holy water as possible, and telling Mom and Dad that Kayla was an Obama supporter, and threatening Kayla that we were going to tell her dad about the new belly button piercing she was icing in the middle of our kitchen. All we really wanted was for her to quit, to give in, to admit defeat, but she wasn't about to budge on a cozy $8 an hour gig that allowed her to sleep most of the day. She certainly wasn't afraid of three kids who flinched at profanity. Her reign of terror would continue, and in addition to the hangovers, the texting and driving, and the lack of discipline, Kayla refused to play the Spirit Camp CD. Shut up, Kayla told us when we protested the playing of the radio. Michael Jackson has died. What none of us wanted to admit was that we didn't know who that was. Judging by the size of his funeral on TV, he must have been a big deal, but he wasn't someone my mom and dad talked about. He certainly wasn't someone they listened to. My parents had a zero-tolerance policy for pedophiles outside of the Catholic Church. As the world finished mourning and the radio stations switched back to playing the top 100, we began to hear the pop music of 2009, which is like tasting wine for the first time in the Bordeaux region of France. It's like discovering cheese and Reggiano, like realizing you like men right in the middle of an equinox. The airwaves that summer were full of songs bound to be classics, Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling, but also Love Story, Party in the USA, Right Round, Single Ladies, Empire State of Mind, and all of that. Every one of those paled in comparison to Lady Gaga, who spoke directly to my soul. Quickly, the lyrics worked their way into our heads. In the early stages, they were just sounds, words, rhythms. What is a disco stick, and how does one ride it? But you say the same thing enough times, and you realize these songs are about sex. Yes, my brother Jack and I knew about sex, except our version of the talk, which happened after family movie night of Shrek 2, was so sanitized that while we understood the mechanisms, we only knew it by its Christian name, making love. Lady Gaga is singing about making love, I told Kayla. I know she is. Kayla just rolled her eyes. That's what every song is about, dummy. And Kayla was right. Every song was about making love. Instead of being horrified, I wanted to tell everyone. I needed to tell someone. So I tried to write about it to Tyler. Tyler was the soldier we adopted in Afghanistan. Absolutely not, my mother said. To be clear, I didn't tell Tyler my recent discovery, that everything was actually about sex. I just tried to describe the paparazzi music video, share the lyrics of I Kissed a Girl, and give him the latest celebrity gossip, which I had gleaned from the library desktop while Kayla got fingered by her boyfriend in the stacks. Basically, I was like a Pony Express version of Pop Crave. But that was never going to fly. My mom held something up to the light, stills from the She-Wolf music video, the part where she's in the body stocking rolling around in the cage, screenshotted and printed, in color, for Tyler. She cracked down, hard. She didn't fire Kayla, but she banned pop music. And to my siblings' horror, I told Kayla to ignore that rule. She was more than happy to comply, and I became a secret student of the internet when no one was looking, unsure whether I was studying these things anthropologically or because I wanted to be these people. Probably both, What I knew for certain was that the lifestyle I was meant to live couldn't be achieved in Palatine, Illinois. There are no jobs for go-go boy work in the middle of the suburbs. Besides, this place was too small-minded. I'd have to save my money to get somewhere like New York. I felt like Lady Bird, except I wasn't radicalized by Joan Didion, but by the Alejandro music video. To be radical, to live my truth, I had to break the rules. Without access to sex or drugs, I had only one outlet: Tyler. I needed to get my letter to Afghanistan. I needed to serve my purpose as a messenger for Gaga. It was Kayla's last week with us, the final window where we could truly be unsupervised. I knew that it was now or never. I went up to my mom's nightstand and found my letter right there, unguarded. There was no lock, no nanny cam, no. Guilt was supposed to keep me out. But that guilt never came, and I slipped my dossier into that week's letter and mailed it to a military posting 6,000 miles away without a hitch. I don't know what happened after. The thing about Tyler was that we never heard back from him. I hope that the arrival of my letter didn't make him feel like he was putting his life on the line for nothing. We never heard from Kayla again either, not after that summer. But I look her up online sometimes and see that, ironically, the person who made me realize how badly I wanted out was, of course, fated to never leave. She got pregnant and settled down one town over. I did get out. I moved to New York at 18 and attempted earnestly to commit to a life of vice. Except, even after sex and drugs, I didn't feel like the people from the music videos. I tried to deprogram myself by quitting church and becoming a Democrat. But it was clear that my heart wasn't in it. I began hanging at the gym just to look like I was cruising. At the club, I would emerge from the bathroom stall, eyes ablaze, rubbing my nose, having consumed nothing. I was pretending all over again. And then it happened. One day, I found myself standing in my apartment wearing an apron, pulling a perfectly roasted chicken out of the oven. At first, I thought I was in some kind of Ina Garten domestic daydream. I'd fallen out of a Tom of Finland drawing and into a happy relationship. Stillness, calm, sobriety, and unexpectedly, I was enjoying myself, even living in a neighborhood that, ironically enough, was named after a man-made reservoir. That's how it happens, isn't it? We convince ourselves that our minds have outgrown the place we come from. The environment is the problem, not us, and we construct fantasies of lives our parents could never comprehend. And before we know it, we're them, or if we're lucky, slightly more well-adjusted versions. Thank you.